Good evening, my friends. Good evening, my friends. Hope I am audible. I reducing the sound of my handset. Okay. Today I will discuss on the developing narrative how Dalai Lama escaped from Lhasa in 1959 when he was kept home interned, encircled by the Chinese Red Army. The mystery of his escape from the clutches of Red Army in Lhasa is still interesting, very interesting. How he could escape. And the total narrative is not completely exposed to us. Because Dalai Lama himself has not told everything to us. And others who are associated has not divulged the important areas. We are trying to develop this narrative from different angles. From my side, how I am developing this narrative. In early 70s, when I came across the journal Joyasri, there was some writings on the Bhagavanji Mahakal. There is some mention about the escape of Dalai Lama, the love of Bhagavanji about the Tibetan culture and history, his sympathy for Dalai Lama, etc. There are some hints, but at that time, for the writers in Joyasri, the writings of which were subsequently compiled in a volume, Oi Mahamano Bhashe, the writers were not in a position to disclose many things in their possession. And then after the emergency, Sri Bijoynath gave me a Xerox volume of a book, The Dalai Lama, a biography of the exiled leader of Tibet by Lyle Thomas Jr., an American, published from America. First published in 1961 and subsequently reprinted a few times, but it was immediately banned in India. And some copies of the book was in the Joyasri office in South Calcutta. But during Joyasri, during the emergency, when the then editor of the Joyasri, revolutionary Sunil Das, was in hiding away from this residence, police entered and took away their volumes. Fortunately, Sri Bijoynath kept a photocopy of the volume. And after emergency, we got a photocopy. I got a photocopy of the volume. That was the only copy available to us, a photocopy of the volume of Dalai Lama. And banking on that volume, parts of this volume where the role of General Death, Lord SIVA, behind the escape of planning and execution of the plan of helping Dalai Lama to escape from Lhasa to India, I used those portions in my affidavits to the Justice Mukherjee Commission. Also, I used those parts as part of my argument to show the activities of the Bhagavanji Mahakal. And naturally, those parts cannot make a complete history. A single narrative on an event cannot make history. While writing history, you have to corroborate whatever described in a narrative from other angles. After the Justice Mukherjee Commission, I had an access to some of the diaries of the followers of Bhagavanji, that is Mahakal, where some details of the role of Mahakal, that is Bhagavanji, in planning and execution of that plan of helping Dalai Lama to come from Lhasa to India. That I published in my first volume, Netaji Subhash Chandra, Kichu Bitarko Kichu Totto, second edition. First volume, second edition. That will be in that page 148. And subsequently again, I came across some of the writings of the followers of Bhagavanji on Dalai Lama. And on corroboration of all these lines from different sources, including the original volume, the Dalai Lama, and one interview given by Dalai Lama himself around 2008 to BBC, that encouraged me to compile all these things, to come to a more or less acceptable narrative of his journey from Lhasa to India. That's right. And that compilation was published in my volume Netaji Subhash Chandra Bitarko Tottho, volume 3, in page 188, few pages. And subsequently all these compilations was translated by Dr. S. Shankar Chatterjee for a volume, Essays on Netaji Mystery, the dots. And if you are interested, you can read the volume Oi Mohammed Ashe by Joyce. Its English translation, Hail to Magnanimous One by Charoni. And my volumes, Netaji Subhash Chandra, volume 1 and 3, and the Dalai Lama, volume published by, from America, Dalai Lama, written by Lowell Thomas, the Dalai Lama, a biography of the exile leader of Tibet. And this journey of Dalai Lama to India is one of the most mysterious, most courageous, most mysterious and dangerous journey in history of Asia. And Dalai Lama and this Lowell Thomas himself is American. His original volume was published in 1961. In America, few volumes came to India for sale, but immediately banned in India. And the Xerox copy, the photocopy of the volume, whatever available to me, I submitted as exhibit in Justice Mukherjee Commission, and I took it as a part of my affidavits and also part of my argument. See, what 1951, 59, now coming to the materials. 1950, I am writing from the translation of that compiled article. I am writing Dalai Lama. The Dalai Lama's flight to India is sentinel event in world history. The story of Dalai Lama is destined to become one of the great legends, a marvelous heroic tale from the heart of Asia. When the struggle became hopeless, the Dalai Lama fled to India, one of the greatest escape stories in man's history. For determined to help his people to the last, he stayed on until it was almost too late. This is the introductions in one of the editions to his book by the author Lowell Thomas himself. And our interesting area is the role of General Death and Lord SIVA. 1959, you see, in 49 itself, the Red Army of China has occupied Tibet. For 10 years, there was many negotiations, many compromises. But in 59, during summer, the situation became very unfavorable for Dalai Lama, very hostile. One day, the general of the Chinese army in charge in Lasa ordered Dalai Lama to come to his headquarters alone, without any of his ministers, any of his courtiers, any of his army. He ordered to come alone. That was the warning signal. And all his advisors, ministers came to a conclusion that that is the time when the general is going to arrest Dalai Lama and exile him, take him away from Tibet to some parts of China, mainland. This time, all the heads of the Gumphas, all the Buddhist Gumphas, they came to a conclusion that it is not wise to keep Dalai Lama in Tibet. They must confront the army and plan to take away Dalai Lama from the clutches of the Red Army. When this decision was taken jointly by all the leaders of the Tibetan Buddhist communities, a man appeared on the scene. That is, I am now narrating from the book Dalai Lama. The man is of martial, is an army man, but not a Tibetan. He is General Death. He is Lord SIVA. He took up the control of the whole scene, whole theatre. He planned everything. Number one, he planned the escape route and methodology of Dalai when he was just 23 years age from the palace in Lhasa and also stage a war against the Chinese army in Lhasa to cover up the escape of Dalai Lama from the palace. Till the moment Dalai reaches the Indian border. And the headquarters was the Lasa Medical College. From that headquarters, General Death arranged everything. And the military persons of the Tibetan community, they took plans and orders from this General Death. How to resist the army to come towards the palace and to stage as if Dalai is inside the palace and they are resisting, fighting against the occupying Red Army. This was a camouflage because the General Death knew that in no way, in open war, it is possible for the army of Dalai Lama to defeat the Chinese army. It is not possible. But to create a camouflage and to kill some time, so that Dalai himself with his courtiers and his relatives can reach a distant place near to the Indian border safely. He want to kill some time, buy some time, and a camouflage telling as if Dalai is inside the palace. And that clicked, that worked. And here in the Lhasa, in the capital, the army of Dalai Lama staged a guerrilla warfare that resisted the Chinese army. And Chinese army thought Dalai is inside the capital, in the palace, Lhasa. And Dalai, with all his important persons, courtiers, moved towards the east and crossing the Brahmaputra, which is known in Tibet as the river Sangpo. He crossed a very mysterious journey on foot and sometimes riding on the horses. In about 1 week, he moved towards the Arunachal Pradesh. But somehow the Chinese army got the smell that Dalai has escaped. Then they thought that Dalai is on the way directly to the Indian border. And from Tibet towards the Indian border, vertically down towards the south, they sent troops and to the air bombers, so that they can drop bombs in front of the advancing team of Dalai Lama. They can stop and paratrooping. They tried to search all the routes towards India. They never could imagine that Dalai Lama team has taken a very long course, tortuous course, a longer course towards the east, towards the Arunachal Pradesh. And naturally, at the late stage, they wanted to search towards the east. But one mysterious thing happened. By the divine desire, a cloud, a thick cloud, for a long time came above the advancing team of Dalai Lama. And that cloud prevented the pilots and army men of the bomber planes to see the escaping team of Dalai Lama. That is narrated in the notes taken down by the followers of Mahakal. That I got long after, and I have given it in volume 1 of that mysterious, that divine desire of an appearance of a cloud over the advancing team of Dalai Lama, which prevented the plane bombers to see. Naturally, the fighting planes could not see the team of Dalai Lama. They safely entered inside the Arunachal. And you see, in around 2008, when Dalai was giving answer to the questions in BBC direct interview, what he told, I am quoting it. I am quoting it. What he told? Suddenly, miraculously, a cloud came over us. Enemy planes could not see us. We entered India safely. See, this is the statement by Dalai Lama from his own lips. In a question of the BBC interviewer directly. Suddenly, miraculously, a cloud came over us. Enemy planes could not see us. We entered India safely. The big interview. Anyway, this portion I have quoted here. And you see, long before, this is 2008, please correlate. In the year 1972, that is just 1 year after the successful Bangladesh Liberation War, designed by and guided by Mahakal, what he told to his disciples to record it in their diaries. Dalai Lama Bharate Agamaner Kahini. And that is recorded on 27 October 1972. Should I read it out in Bengali? That is in Bengali in my book. Netaji Subhash Chandra Bitorko Kichu Totto. Let it be read in English translation from my other volume. The Mahakal Kathon in English translation. As this episode is for the English. Let me read. Yes. The story of Dalai Lama arrival in India as narrated by Mahakal. On 27 October 1972, the Dalai Lama did not want to come to India. Mahakal telling himself to disciples, and he is recording it. At one time, Dalai Lama had sent a request for 50,000 rifles along with adequate ammunition, but the government of India under Nehru did not oblige. Had he done so, history would have been different. It would have been possible to repel the Chinese. Even America developed cold feet at the prospect of sending help that far. The UNO could not do anything because that means Russia. The Dalai Lama was displeased with India as it had not helped, hence his reluctance for taking asylum in India. Dalai Lama did not want to come to India. There was a pact with the British India of India helping Tibet in event of danger. There was a pact between British India and Tibet. The GOI, Government of India, could have utilized that opportunity. India did not take in an attempt to appease, did not take an attempt to appease China, the Dalai Lama thought of going to Bhutan. Instead, it was me means Mahakal himself, who convinced him to come to India. But Dalai Lama said India is being foolish. I convinced Dalai Lama that the Indian public was with him 100%. The sympathy of the Indian public with the Dalai Lama was so great that the Indian public would oust Nehru if he did not provide asylum to Dalai Lama. I added that the Indian Prime Minister is my friend. He, in bracket, he indeed was once my friend. It was then that he relented on it. Thereafter, the journey began. China had no idea in which direction he was heading. When he was only 1 week's journey from the Indian border, China realized that Dalai Lama had taken a route to India. China got, in the original diary it is CH, not China, CH, I mean China, got ready for bombing operations. A huge caravan of 2,000 people, mules and palanquins was on its way. Please remember, Dalai Lama team has got 2,000 people, mules, palanquins was on its way. At that moment, the supernatural event occurred. The entire caravan was suddenly enveloped by a dense fog. Again, I am telling you, the entire caravan was suddenly enveloped by a dense fog. There was no chance of any bomber plane being able to spot the huge caravan from above. Dalai Lama read out a prayer after crossing the Indian border. After the entire caravan had crossed over safely into India, the fog disappeared. How could China bomb them? The route was planned so meticulously that China had no inkling which route Dalai Lama had taken. They did come to know where he was headed to only when he was 7 days away from the Indian border. But the air raid was rendered impossible because of the dense fog over the caravan. Logic cannot explain the sudden appearance of the fog enveloping the caravan. Clear? Lamas of the Tibet have moved over to an undisclosed region. Keep this in mind. Lamas of Tibet have moved over to an undisclosed region with the vast amounts of ancient manuscripts of teachings. It is being guarded and preserved at such place which, leave alone China, it is impossible for any power on earth to locate. Keep in mind. And this last stanza which I have read is being told by now the American and Western scholars that time the Lamas has left Lasa with thousands of volumes of manuscripts to some very mysterious places and preserved there. The Chinese cannot locate them. Also, this is told by Mahakal in 1972 to his followers, and this being told now by the Western scholars. And remember why Mahakal Bhagavanji was so anxious to help Dalai Lama to bring to India in a safe center, though Nehru was not in favor of that. I've discussed it. Remember, Tibet was for centuries was a buffer country in between giant India and giant China. Strategically, always between the two giant countries there should be a buffer country. The statesman Mahakal knows it. An occupation of Tibet has destroyed that buffer country. Now the Chinese border is directly on the neck of India. It is dangerous for India. And also, please keep in mind all the mighty rivers of Bharat, the Sindhu, the Ganga, the Brahmaputra, has taken origin from Tibet. When Tibet is occupied by China, they can control the water source of these three vast rivers, which are the lifelines of our subcontinent. And militarily, strategically, and also in resource-wise, water resource, natural resources, Tibet is so independent, Tibet is so important. And by this escape of Dalai Lama, at least the dream of a future free Tibet, the dream is surviving. Dream is surviving. That is the achievement of Mahakal. Mahakal thinks a lot in advance for the future of the human civilization and for the strategies of the newly developed Bharat. He is this plan, and also by this escape of Dalai Lama, the Dalai Lama system of Tibetan Buddhism is still now surviving. And similarly, that time in India, Bhagavanji started redeveloping, re-enriching the Sankaracharya system of Bharat, which are holding the Sanatana Dharma in its four pristine headquarters in four corners of this country. And I will request all the persons, all the listeners, my friends, to read these volumes and the book Dalai Lama by Julia Lavelle Thomas, where in pages the plans and activities of General Death, Lord SIVA, is narrated by Lavelle Thomas, the American journalist. And you'll be, I think, your knowledge about this Dalai, on this issue and the role of the General Death will be to some extent clear to you. Who is this General Death? Who is this Lord SIVA? The Lord SIVA. And why the escape narratives of Dalai Lama is so clear to Bhagavanji himself. And in the Oimohanabhashe, in many areas, you will see so much love and sympathy of Bhagavanji for Dalai Lama. You will see many places his love and sympathy for Dalai Lama on one side, other side for Israel and Jews. I request you to read for yourself the books, you come to your own decision. And one thing I must read, how much time is, I should not. And again reminding you, in Tibet, Nehru did not do justice to Tibet. Did not do justice to Tibet, also did not do justice to our foreign policy, our diplomacy. He has harmed our national interest, also betrayed the interest of the Tibet. Because as per international law, when there is a pact between British India and Tibet that in danger India will help Tibet, and after transfer of power as per the as per the rules in the transfer of power. It is written in volume 12 clearly that all the rights, responsibilities, liabilities, and international treaties of the British India now lying on India. We are duty bound by the international law to help Tibet in its crisis. We have not followed that rule. We have not followed the rule. We have betrayed Tibet. We have violated that international treaty. And that is against the interest of Bharat. That is against interest of Tibet and Tibetan culture. And Nehru did it to please, to appease China. Appease China. Any question? Joydev Sarkar, good evening, sir. Shubho Sundar, Somnath Ghosh, thank you, Somnath. Sir, where is BBC interview? If you go into in their archives, you can see it. You can see it. You can search Dalai Lama interview in BBC. You can see it. I was listening to when it was live broadcasting by the BBC. It was around 2008. And also this Dalai Lama interview, the BBC, I corroborated these other records. That corroboration is from the American journalist, that is the Lyle Thomas. Also, Bhagavanji's own talks to his disciples, published in Oi Mahamanava Ashe and published in your Mahakal Kathan. All these things. History has to be written on corroborations of narratives. A single narrative by individual cannot establish your history. History has to be, the narration must be corroborated from other angles. Thank you. And through Amazon also, from market you can, and we have arranged in the market, the Dalai Lama volume was banned, was not available. We have arranged in the market the availability of the Dalai Lama by Lyle Thomas in the market. And I have given in my Facebook the contact of that is the Amazon contact for availability of this volume. Yes, in my third volume I have corroborated many things there. And as I have told you, this is a developing narrative. I do not know. I have already told you the narrative of Subhash Chandra's journey from India to Europe in 1941 is a developing story. The story is not clear to us. His journey in 1943 from Europe to Asia is not clearly known to us. His escape in 1945 from Saigon is not clear to us. They all are developing story. And also Dalai Lama's story is a developing story. Bangladesh war is a developing story. In one time I have told you, in modern science what it tells us, energy you cannot see. Energy, the presence of energy is by our interpretation. By interpretation of the effects of energy. Effects of energy we interpret, we appreciate. Appreciations of the effects of energy we can. Now, no power, no energy can be visible. Think of electron. Electron is a mathematical propoundation in 1897. Which year? Subhash Chandra was born. Mahakal, electron still today is an invisible one. It's a mysterious phenomenon. Mahakal is a mysterious phenomenon. This mysterious phenomena cannot be palpated by your fingers, cannot be seen by your physical eyes, that need to be appreciated very, very logical mind, very scientific, logical mind, by appreciation of the activities of this Mahakal, activities of this electron, activities of this energy. You have to appreciate these activities and come to a conclusion of their presence. Direct presence cannot be seen or palpated or heard by you. That need to be, the universe is mainly unseen, mainly mysterious, mainly mystic, invisible. That's why our subject was অজ্ঞেয়বাদ, যাকে দেখতে পাচ্ছি না, যাকে বুঝতে পারছি না, হাতে ধরতে পারছি না, তাকে বুঝবার জন্য তার যে স্কেল, তার যে ইনস্ট্রুমেন্টস, সেটা ডিফারেন্ট। ফিজিক্যাল ভিজিবল ওয়ার্ল্ড you have to assess with some instruments your physical laboratory, but the invisible world has to be assessed by different method, different scale, that the scale of spirituality. The instruments of the physical lab cannot be used to assess, to measure the events of the spiritual world. They are a different scale, different methodology. Let me stop here today. Raja Mitru, thank you. Raja, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Somnath Ghosh. I told you, you go to the BBC archives, you can go there. Good night.